Hello, it's good to see you. This video is a little different. I'm just going to talk to you about something that has come up before. I've had people message me about it before, and someone else has come out to talk about it. And some people say that ASMR is a cult. I've heard this before. I have had people email me and tell me that what I'm doing is the devil's work and that it really needs to stop. I haven't heard it in a while, so for it to pop up again tonight was, just kind of out of the blue. But I know there are people who watch ASMR videos who worry about it, and who may, because of their beliefs, they may worry that ASMR is something kind of unsavory. I'm here to tell you that I don't think it is. And people tend to throw around the word cult a little too lightly. If you've never been in one, you can't fully appreciate the personal hell that it is. I've mentioned this before. I was in a religious cult when I was younger, in my 20s, for about a year. And it was a nightmare. It was hell on earth. I ended up moving far away from home and being with people I didn't know and being expected to live by unbelievably strict codes of conduct. Cults ruin people's lives. They leave a wake of devastation. They tear families apart. They destroy people's dreams and aspirations. I don't really like it when people compare ASMR to a cult. I don't think you really need to compare anything to a cult. You can't just use that word for anything that you find unpleasant or distasteful. I wrote a book about religious cults. I read it. You can find it in my playlist under River Road. It was based on not just my experiences, but the experiences of a lot of other people who were involved in that group. I did 4 years of research. I talked to dozens of survivors who left. There was one confirmed suicide in the group. I found out about that. There were court transcripts. There were all kinds of things that I went through, and talking to some of the survivors and seeing how their years of involvement in that group, how it just crippled them. Some of them never recovered from what their time in that group did to them. And to me, it's the exact opposite of what ASMR is. I used ASMR secretly. I wasn't allowed to do it. I wasn't really allowed to do much of anything. You were under almost constant surveillance, especially if you were a single person in the group. I was watched pretty much constantly. But at night when I couldn't sleep, I had some VHS tapes of The Joy of Painting, and I would play those to sleep because it was the only way I could get any sleep sometimes. And ASMR helped save my sanity in a time that everything else was just a living hell, basically. You may wonder how people can get involved in a cult. That's a story for another day, but I can tell you that some of the smartest people I've ever met were recruited into that group. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. I think it has a lot to do with where you are in your life when you are approached. If you're looking for answers, if you're looking for deeper meaning in your life, you can be susceptible to be recruited into a cult. People don't join cults, they're recruited into them because they believe that the group offers something that they need. They have a belief or hope that that group will give them something that they need. If you look at the definition of a cult, I'll just read this for you. This is from oxforddictionaries.com. It's a noun. It's a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Certainly, some people could say that ASMR is strange, but I don't think it really rises to the level of being a cult. A misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. Well, if you excessively admire being able to sleep or have your stress and anxiety reduced, I can understand that. A person or thing that is popular or fashionable, especially among a particular section of society, usually as a modifier, like a cult film. But I think when people call ASMR a cult, that's not what they really mean. I think they look at it like it's devil worship or something like that. I've had people message me before and say, you're doing the devil's work. This is not the Lord's work, and you need to stop. The devil is working through you to influence people to walk away from the Lord, and you need to stop it. That language sounds a lot like the language that I had to adopt in the religious group. There were many phrases and words that you were encouraged to use, and that sounds a lot like stuff that I was kind of educated to say, because we had to go out and recruit people, and you had to adopt a certain mannerisms, ways of speaking, ways of dressing. They controlled every aspect of your life. They separated you from your family. If your family was not willing to join the group, you were encouraged to cut ties with your family. I don't see the ASMR community doing that, but I think it comes from that puritanical idea that, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, it doesn't matter if you do or not. I'm not going to change my mind, you're not going to change my mind, I'm not going to change yours, but it's the belief that if it feels good or if it benefits you in some way, then it must be bad. It must be evil if you enjoy it. And that goes for music or dancing or ASMR or, listening to the radio. And we had pre-approved music that we were allowed to listen to. If it wasn't on the list, you better not get caught listening to it. I got caught with a John Denver CD in my apartment and was rebuked pretty harshly for that. And that's in the story I wrote. I did include that because it was a defining moment in my time in that group. I know what cults do to people. I know firsthand what they do to people. I saw it myself. I saw what it did to me, and I was only there a year. There were people who were there 18 to 20 years, and I got to know some of them pretty well, and I know what it did to them and what it continues to do to them this day. Even though they left back in the early 2000s, they're still affected today by it. It will never leave them. And until you've had to go through that, you cannot appreciate the way it will wreck your life. So if you want to call ASMR a cult, you need to experience what a cult is and then come back and watch some ASMR videos and tell me if it compares, because I'm here to tell you it does not. Doesn't. ASMR makes people feel better. It reduces stress and anxiety. It helps people sleep. A cult made me put a gun to my head and wonder what it would be like to pull the trigger. That's what a cult did to me. I didn't do it because I didn't want my parents to have to go through that. I was 24 years old. And I've never had that experience with ASMR. Oddly enough, ASMR has never made me feel that way. ASMR was one of my coping mechanisms to get through my year up there, far away from here. It didn't even have a name back then, and I didn't even know anybody else experienced it. You can also look at, if you wonder if ASMR is a cult, you can look at, you can take little quizzes. They have little questionnaires online. Here's one. Let's see. The Medium app. Medium.com, Sam and Tanner. 10 signs you're probably in a cult. Number 1, the leader is the ultimate authority. If you're not allowed to criticize your leader, even if the criticism is true, you're probably in a cult, and that definitely applied to my group. You could not. Oh, it was like blasphemy to say anything against the leader. Oh my goodness, you catch hell for that. They have a charismatic leader. They convince members to forfeit their critical thinking ability in return for a sense of belonging, authority, and purpose. I don't see ASMR doing that. Number 2, the group suppresses skepticism. I don't really see a lot of skepticism in the ASMR community. The only thing I ever really see is this isn't ASMR. It doesn't work for me, so it sucks. I guess you could be skeptical as to whether or not a video is appropriate for ASMR. I mean, this isn't. I'm talking about cults and stuff. It bothers me to know that there are people out there in the world who are watching it secretly like I did, feeling like they're going to go to hell for it because that's what they were told and that's what they came to believe, because your mind is not your own anymore. If you're watching this in secret because you are afraid of someone finding out because if you'll be punished for it, just follow this and see if any of this applies to you. The group suppresses skepticism. If you're only allowed to study your organization through approved sources, you're probably in a cult. And that was very true. We had our own study guide that the leader crafted. You were discouraged. You were not really... It was not okay to follow other study guides. You could only read the King James Version of the Bible. Other versions were prohibited. They didn't like you associating with other people who might have been in churches that were not that group, because they were not following the proper doctrine. So you were not allowed to socialize with them. Number 3, the group delegitimizes former members. That is very true. If you can't think of a legitimate reason for leaving your group, you're probably in a cult. Because the cult considers itself the ultimate authority on truth, it can't imagine anybody leaving it with their integrity intact. Thus, it has to perpetuate a false narrative that former members were deceived, proud, immoral, or lazy. Deceived was a big buzzword. That's what we called everybody. They were asleep, or they were deceived, worldly. Yeah, and you were not allowed to associate. If anyone left the group, you were absolutely forbidden to have any contact with them. Even if they were a family member, you were not permitted to talk to them. Number 4, the group is paranoid about the outside world. Very much so. If your group insists the end of the world is near, you're probably in a cult. They talked about that a lot. And that's one of the reasons why they controlled our every move, was to keep us away from worldly people who might wake us up to what was going on, the control that we were under. Cults position themselves as the sole refuge in an evil outside world that is intent on their destruction. Cults thrive on conspiracy theories, catastrophic thinking, and persecution complexes. Oh my God, that is so true of the group I was in. But again, are you seeing any of this in ASMR videos? Because I'm not. Now, I will say it was very hard to get back out into the regular world after being in that group for only a year. It was very hard for me. I felt guilty wearing shorts or a sleeveless shirt for a long time. I felt like I was doing something wrong because it had been drilled into my head that women don't wear pants. You certainly don't wear shorts or tank tops or sleeveless shirts. You don't do anything to your hair. You don't wear lots of makeup. And so you don't listen to worldly music or watch movies or any of that stuff. And I felt like I was doing something wrong. And it took a long time to really get back to feeling normal again. And I've never experienced that watching an ASMR video, oddly enough. Very different. Number 5, the group relies on shame cycles. If you need your group in order to feel worthy, loved, or sufficient, you're probably in a cult. That's true. Cult leaders trap members in shame cycles by imposing abnormally strict codes of conduct, usually prescriptions about diet, appearance, sex, relationships, and media, guilting members for their shortcomings, and then positioning themselves as the unique remedy for the feelings of guilt which they themselves created. And that was true. I was rebuked quite a few times. I was rebuked for spending too much time alone. You were not encouraged to spend time alone. You were expected to spend all of your free time with the sisters. If you were, that's what they called it. If you were single, you were supposed to be with the sisters, and the guys had to be with the brothers, and they kept them very separated, very segregated. I married my first husband in the group, and I didn't even really know him. But I don't really know how to describe to you how that came about. But all I know to tell you is I was brainwashed. I was not myself, and the marriage didn't last long at all. Once we got away from the group, I convinced him to leave when I found out some things, and it was really traumatic. And I said, I'm leaving. If you want to come with me, you can, but I'm going back home. I'm not staying up here. And he did come with me. He was in the group for 13 years. And I didn't even really know him. We weren't allowed to spend any time alone until after we were married. We had to have a chaperone on our dates. We couldn't do anything together without a chaperone there. I was watched in my apartment. One of the sisters had a key to my apartment and would search my apartment when I wasn't home. They would follow me. They tried to get me to take a job where other sisters worked. I didn't take it because I had a much better paying job. And when they saw how much I was going to be tied, then suddenly they were fine with it. Thought that was interesting. But what I'm trying to say is the group controlled every aspect of my life. And I'm okay talking about it because I know that there are at least a few people out there who watch videos like these ASMR videos. They watch these videos in secret, and I'm telling you, if you're having to do it in secret, there's something very wrong. There's something very, very wrong. And you are being deceived. I can tell you that because I was where you are. It's not evil. It's not the devil. I'm not here to steal your soul and suck it through the camera and give it to Satan. I promise. But I know, that's exactly what Satan would say. I know, and the master of deception and all that. Please, I know. That's not what ASMR is for. It's very simply relaxation. It's just a way to unwind and take away some of the stress and anxiety that you may be dealing with. Help you sleep a little better. Maybe take your mind off things. There's no evil intent. It's not sinister. It's not the devil. It's just not. But if you're in a group where everything is the devil, because I was, and I got tired of it, it's like, why is everything the devil? Everything that they don't like is the devil automatically. You know that the God that you worship is made up if they hate all the same things you do. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Number 6, the leader is above the law. Well, I don't know who the leader of the ASMR community would be. Probably Gentle Whispering. I don't think she's above the law any more than anybody else. If you're held to a different moral standard, specifically in regard to sex, you're probably in a cult. A prevalent idea among cult leaders is that they are above the law, be it human or divine. This idea allows them to exploit their followers economically and sexually without repercussions. And that was true in the group I was in, and that's how everything hit the fan, and the leader ended up in prison, and he died there. And I have read every page of the transcripts. It was almost 5,000 pages, and I read every page of it, and I paraphrased some of it in my story, and that was real stuff. He was into some ridiculously crazy stuff, and I didn't know about any of it. But when I found out about it and found out that it was true and that stuff really happened, that's when I left immediately. I was out. I wasn't kicked out, I left. Don't see any of that on ASMR videos either. Number 7, the group uses thought reform methods. Now, this is where I think a lot of religious people come in and say that ASMR is a cult or of the devil. You know, anything they see as mind altering. Certain religious groups see anything that's mind altering as bad. You know, there are, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not. I have no problem with anybody's religious beliefs at all. But a lot of groups don't like caffeine or nicotine or aspirin or I don't know, you know, antidepressants, anything that kind of alters your mind, because the way they see it, it alters what God created, and that's wrong. I don't believe that. But I guess that's where a lot of these people are coming from, is that ASMR is it's thought reform, because they don't really understand it. I would think anybody who really experiences ASMR would have to disagree with that. I believe it is a neurological glitch. I don't think it's supposed to happen. I'm really glad it does, but I think it's a neurological glitch in the brains of some people. I have heard that there is a link between head trauma as a young child and ASMR. Now, I don't know, and misophonia as well. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think it's something that the devil has planted in your head. I think it's a wonderful thing, whatever caused it. I don't care. I think it's great. I also have misophonia, and that sucks, but the ASMR is fantastic. But I wouldn't call it a thought reform method. Indoctrination or brainwashing is the process through which a cult slowly breaks down a person's sense of identity and ability to think rationally. And that's the way it was for me. The big step was getting me away from home, away from everything comfortable, and getting me into a place where nothing was comfortable and everything was weird and different. People are a lot easier to control when they have nothing familiar to fall back on. And I think that's why you find a lot of cults around areas where you find people in transition, like around military bases, college campuses, where you'll find a lot of young people away from home. Maybe they don't have any family nearby. They may not have any friends. You know, they're new to the area, looking for a group to belong to, and they bring them into the fold, so to speak. Oh, number 8, the group is elitist. I don't think the ASMR group is elitist. I'm certainly not elitist. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I certainly don't think that my opinions or beliefs are any better than anybody else's. My experiences are different, but everybody's experiences are different. We all have unique experiences and can bring unique things to any conversation. But yeah, cults are definitely elitist. Ours, the one I was in, definitely was. They believed that they had the one very narrow path to salvation, and it had to do with the baptism. That was their gimmick, was the baptism had to be done in a very specific way, and it was in a way that most Christian churches don't do it. So in their minds, that made it right, and they would pick random Bible verses to kind of quote unquote prove it. But they are very good at convincing people, if you don't do it this way, you will go to hell. It doesn't matter what you do in these other groups. It's not going to do you any good. If you don't do it our way, you're not going to make it to heaven. So they were very, very elitist. Number 9, there is no financial transparency. Well, ain't that the truth as far as cults go? Oh my God. There was so much money in this group, but they were always begging for more. It's like they could never get enough. And it was a good way to get financial control over the members. When you're spending, I was at the place at least 6 nights a week, and the 7th night I would have to be at a sister's house, or they would be at my place having a Bible study. We're talking 7 nights a week, and on the weekends it was like all day Saturday, all day Sunday. You had no free time to yourself. If you were caught spending too much money, you were rebuked harshly. You were expected to give all of your money that you had available. You were expected to give it to the group. The single brothers lived in housing owned by the group. The sisters were not allowed to know where these places were. It was very secretive, very shrouded in secrecy. You weren't allowed to know where they lived. I couldn't have my fiance's cell phone number. I couldn't know where he lived. I couldn't go to his apartment. I knew he lived in an apartment, but I wasn't allowed to know where it was, because they said, you will slip back into the world, and they still saw me as being of the world because I was a single, independent woman, and I was a little stubborn at first. I didn't really go. I wasn't as pliable as they thought I would be coming from the South. They assumed that I was stupid and uneducated and just a hick that could be very easily bent to their will, and it didn't really work. I got rebuked quite a bit for the first month or two. I went through some rough times. I had several people say they were surprised that I was smart because they believed that all people from the South were stupid. But I'm getting off track here. They use money to control the members. If you have no money, it's hard to leave. It's just like being in an abusive relationship or an abusive marriage. The abuser sometimes will use money to control the other person, whether it's a man or a woman, and they make it very hard to leave. If you don't have any money, it's kind of hard to leave. But like I was saying, the single brothers had to give their entire check to the group, their paycheck. They had the checks direct deposited into the group's account. The group paid for their food and their apartment, and we give them a meager clothing allowance once a month or every couple months or whatever. And they were expected to account for every expenditure. They controlled the brothers a lot more than the sisters. I'm not really sure why, but, I have my theories, but I'm not going to get into that. So financial transparency, I don't see anything about ASMR that has anything to do with finances, so I'm going to go on past that. Number 10, the group performs secret rites. Oh I didn't read these ahead of time. Wow. Yeah. There were some secret rites for the inner circle. Not everybody in the group, just certain people, and I'm not going to go into details about that. If there are secret teachings or ceremonies you didn't discover until after you joined, you're probably in a cult. And that's very true. I had to learn a lot of the unwritten rules of the group by breaking them, and I didn't know they were rules. Like the first time I went to a worship service there, I walked into the fellowship hall, and I didn't notice right away because I had never experienced this. All the women were on one half of the hall and all the men were over here. I didn't notice it. Well, all the women were having conversations that I didn't really feel a part of, so I just kept walking, and I ended up down on the far end of the fellowship hall where all the men were, and I got into a circle, and they were talking about fishing, which is very interesting to me, and I was there for about a half a second when one of the sisters came and grabbed me by the arm and swiftly steered me back over there and said, "You are not," she was just scolding me all the way, "You know you're not supposed to be down there. You can't go down there." And I said, "I don't even know what you're talking about." She said, "Sisters don't go down there. You stay up here." Just stuff like that. Rules that you don't even know are rules. I got rebuked at a car wash where we were raising money for something for holding the car wash sign in a seductive manner. I don't even know what, I was just holding the sign, but they said I was being seductive and I needed to stop. To this day, I don't know what I did, but there were secret teachings and things that only the inner circle was allowed to know about. And there were some rites of passage. I wasn't there long enough, but I did hear about them from some former members who were there much longer. Some pretty wacky things they had to go through. I don't see that in ASMR videos. So that's the 10th thing. So no, I don't think ASMR is a cult. I don't think it's of the devil. I don't think you're going to go to hell for being here. Everything that's good is not necessarily bad. If you have a good feeling, that doesn't mean it's the devil. And I'm not laughing at you. I know what it's like to believe that. Because there was a time in my life when I believed it. I believed it wholeheartedly. Any good feeling must be bad because we are here to suffer. We suffer in this plane of existence. We suffer in this life. We are laying up treasures in heaven. I've heard it all, and I believed it until the mask was ripped off, and I couldn't deny it anymore. It was everything hit the fan, and I found out some stuff, and it was very, very shocking. And I left immediately, like, I'm packing my crap and I'm leaving. You can, and I have just married my first husband. I said, you can stay, or you can come with me, or you can stay here. I truly don't care. I have to get out of here. Never had that experience watching an ASMR video, I have to say. Not even for a fleeting moment has ASMR ever made me feel that way. So no, to anyone who thinks it is a cult or the devil. First of all, I would like to hear your explanation, please. Please, if you've come around lately and you call it a cult, I want you to explain in the comments down there. I want you to explain to everyone what you mean by that. And I don't mean just say it's a cult. I want you to explain. You need to flesh out your response. Because just saying it's a cult means nothing. You need to show us what you mean. You seem to feel pretty strongly about it, so I'm sure you have plenty of evidence to back it up. So I'm really looking forward to reading it. Someone who has written a book about cults. Would love to hear your opinion on cults and what your experience in a cult has been like. And I can get you in touch with some people who could probably humble you a little bit in your experience with cults. So, if you have been watching these in secret and you feel guilty about it, don't feel guilty anymore. And if you're involved in a group or you're with someone who tries to make you feel bad for it, think about that too. Because you deserve better in this life than to have to hide the very things that help you keep your sanity, because the rest of your life is a living hell. That's what I came to realize. You're not the problem, and you deserve better than this. So I know this is not my typical stuff, but I felt compelled to talk about cults a little bit. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing from all the cult experts who are so fearlessly calling ASMR a cult. So I will see you later.